Hi, it's time for another math easy solution. To discuss further into the polar coordinates video series, now go over example 1. So if you haven't already, make sure to watch my earlier videos on polar coordinates. I went over an introduction on it and the polar coordinate system, so make sure to watch it. And now in this video, we're going to go over this example, which states, plot the points whose polar coordinates are given below. And we have 4 questions here, A, B, C, and D. Let's look at A, but recall that these coordinates are written as a number from the polar coordinates. You have r and theta, where r is the distance from the origin and theta is the angle about the x-axis usually, or the horizontal axis to the right. So let's look at part A first. So part A, you have r equals to 1, and then you have the angle theta is equal to 5 pi over 4, like this. So now from this, to help graph it, well, we have to look at this 5 pi over 4. Well, what we know is 5 pi over 4, well, that's just greater than pi, because you could just multiply 4 over 4. It's 4 over 4 like that. It's the same thing as pi. This is 180 degrees. Just makes it easier to graph. But now here's something we don't know. If this is going to be, let's just check if it's greater than or equal to, if greater than or less than, when we add this pi by 90 degrees or pi over 2. So I'll check. This could be either less than or greater than, etc. Just to make it easier to graph. So what we could do is pi plus pi over 2. Same thing as writing. We want a common denominator of 4. So I'll just write 4 over 4. And then we'll have here 2 over 2. So we're not changing anything. So the bottom becomes 4. So we have 4 pi plus pi times 2, that equals to 6 pi. Yeah, 6 pi over 4. So 6 pi over 4 is clearly bigger than 5 pi over 4. So this is less than right there. So this is the 180 degrees, and this one is 90 degrees above that, or 270, I think, yeah. So let's just graph this out. So recall the way to graph it out. If this is our polar axis, this is our origin O, so we're gonna rotate past the 180 degrees, which is pi, but then it's gonna be in between. So what I should do is it's gonna be in between this pi over there, and this one is so from here to here is pi, from here to here is pi plus pi over 2. So the angle is gonna be somewhere like this, over here, and where this distance is 1. Like that, and then at this point we have 1 and 5 pi over 4, and this angle theta is equal to 5 pi over 4, like that. So so I'll just write it over here. At this point we have theta is equal to pi, and at this point theta is equal to the 6 pi over 4, like that. So it's in between those two. So now let's look at part B, and part B is, well, we have 2 and 3 pi. That's an easy one to graph, because we already know what 3 pi is visually. So we have, this one is r equals to 2, and then we have theta is equal to 3 pi. Let me just double check. So 2 and 3 pi. So to graph this, well, there's a polar axis like this, and then we rotate, this is 2 pi, and then we rotate another pi like that. So there's our angle. Whoops, this one's actually going to be flat line like this, all the way across. Draw this better. This one should touch this, so like that. So it's going to be a full 3 pi around, and then it's at 2, so this distance is 1, and then the distance across there is the 2 mark. And at this point we have 2 and 3 pi, like that. So that's how you graph this point using the polar coordinates. Now let's look at part C. C is 2 and then negative 2 pi over 3. So we have a negative angle now. So we have 2 and is this one, r is equal to 2, and theta is equal to negative 2 pi over 3. So recall from my introduction video and also from parts A and B above, I've using the convention that positive is rotating counterclockwise like that. So if we have a negative angle like that, we rotate clockwise like that, and this one's counterclockwise positive, clockwise negative. And now for this angle 2 pi over 3, well, if we look at the absolute value of 2 pi over 3, this one's clearly less than pi, So yeah, so it's less than 180 degrees because yeah, this is just 3 over 3. And then this is greater than, well, pi over 2. That's because 1 over 2 is less than 2 over 3. So that's just 2/3, it's a half, and this one is a whole like that. That's just 1 over 1, etc. So we have this. So this is in between it all. Actually, I'll just keep that there. So what we have is the angle is like this, but we're going to go backwards, or we're going to go negative side, and radius, or r, is 2. So we have this 2 over 3. It's going to be in between. This is, remember, this is pi over 2, and then the full pi is on this side, and we're going to be reversing this way. So this, if this is 1, and then, so that's a distance 1, this distance right here, this angle is negative 2 over 3 pi. So we have something like that, and then at this point is 2, and then negative 2 over 3 pi, like that. That's the coordinate for this point. And now the last one is part D, and D is we have a negative, the r is negative, negative 3, and then we have positive 3 pi over 4, like that. So let's take a look at this. So we have D. D is r is equal to negative 3, and theta is equal to 3 pi over 4. Yeah, so likewise, like C, because remember we have this 2 over 3. I'll make this bigger so it doesn't look like it's a 1 minus. So that's a absolute value sign. Yeah, so likewise for that, we have this 3 pi over 4. Well, this is less than just pi, or 4 over 4 times pi. And this is greater than pi over 2. So in other words, a half is less than 3/4, and which is less than a whole, like that. So that's where the angle is going to be inside. And now we have this r equals to negative 3. So the way my calculus book writes this way when we have a negative distance, well, we have the polar axis like this. Then we rotate by 3 pi over 4. So it's greater than 90 degrees, or pi over 2. So it's greater than this. It's going to be less than this angle, 180 degrees. So it's going to be somewhere in between. So the way my calculus book does it is it graphs the angle like this, and it graphs this point there. So this is 3 pi over 4 is the angle. Let's draw this better. So 3 pi over 4, and then it works backwards because we have a negative there. So it's a negative. So we work backwards, and it does it with a dashed line, one like this all the way across. This is 1, and then this is 2. So 1, 2, or negative 1, negative 2, all the way across to this point. So that's the way it graphs it, or shows it visually. So we have negative 3 and 3 pi over 4. So yeah, that's how you graph it. Basically, when you have a negative, you just work backwards, and this is I've gone over this in my earlier video on polar coordinates as well, so make sure to watch it. So yeah, this is how you go about and basically graphing these kind of points, you know, on a polar coordinate system. So yeah, make sure to watch this carefully and understand it, because in later videos I'm going to use these methods and graph some pretty amazing curves and other concepts in polar coordinates. And again, polar coordinates is one of my favorite math topics of all time, so we're going to get to some crazy shapes later on. Anyways, thanks for watching. Like always, you can download these exact notes in the link below in the video description. And yeah, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for another Math Easy solution.